Hello guys, this is Paul McWhorter from TopTechBoy.com, and we are here today with live Shop Talk number 33. And yes, we are live. I'm going to need you to pour yourself a nice cup of hot coffee. Strong black coffee, no sugar, no sweeteners, none needed, and get ready for a really exciting program. Yeah, here in West Texas, it has turned a little bit cold towards the end of November, and so during the cold weather, I will be enjoying hot coffee. Okay, hopefully you guys have your coffee out, and hopefully you are ready for an exciting program today. Looks like we've got some people tuning in. Dr. Great Engineer, the Green Diamond from Kenya. We have Clint Swaita, Dr. Great Engineer, Fun Engineering. We have quite a group of people tuning in already, so that is really great. Okay, yeah, so there was a suggestion, no milk in the coffee. Yeah, I will be honest that when I have my first cup of coffee in the morning, I get about a half a cup of whole cream, and I froth it, and then I put like 3 shots of espresso in it, and it is a rich, creamy, delicious breakfast. But after that, I just drink it with no dairy in it, because if I sat and drank cappuccinos all day, I would be the fattest man you've ever seen. So to try to not get too fat, I have one really delicious creamy coffee, and after that I just have it straight and black. Okay, Johan Perez, welcome from Colombia. Hey, we've got Mode Sami, we have Chinu Dantui, we have Max Sales, we have Emmett Ray, Timus, we've got Soren. Wow, we got a nice crowd coming on here. Okay, guys, let's jump in and let's talk about what we are going to be going over today. We're going to be talking about troubleshooting and talk about debugging, because that's like one of the most common comments that I get, or questions I get, or emails I get, is about troubleshooting and debugging. And typically what I get is a comment that says, I did exactly what you did and it's not working. Okay, how do you respond to that? I did exactly what you did, but mine's not working. The way I respond to that is, if you did exactly what I did, it would be doing exactly what mine is doing, and that is working. So the fact that yours isn't working means that you didn't do exactly what I did. And I'm not trying to be harsh, or I'm not trying to be a smart aleck, but it's just like, you've got to understand. I mean, people send me those comments like, oh, well, the Arduino doesn't work, or this stuff doesn't work, or it's random. No, I mean, it's almost never the Arduino. The Arduino pretty much always works. It's like, if it's not working, then it's not the Arduino, it is you. Okay, it is not the Arduino, it is you, and it is something you've done. And a lot of times somebody will tell me, well, mine's doing this, or mine's doing that, or mine's not doing what yours is. How do I respond to that? It's doing exactly what you tell it to. And if you're going to get good at debugging, what you've got to do is that no matter how right you think everything is, there is something that you have done that is not right. Okay, and what you've got to do is you've got to go in there and find it. Now, the first thing in going in and finding it, you can't just say, oh, well, that didn't work, so I'm going to try something different. Okay, that didn't work, I'm going to try this. Well, that didn't work, I'm going to try this. First of all, you got to have a strategy and kind of a game plan for your program. You've got to have confidence in that game plan, and then if it doesn't work, you have to methodically go through and figure out why it hasn't worked. Now, the easiest errors to find are the errors where it doesn't compile, where you get the ugly little orange warnings down in the bottom, because clearly there you just have a coding error, and you've just got to go through line by line, and you've got to look at your code, and you've got to figure it out. You've got to figure out why it wasn't working. Okay, but then that is usually pretty easy to figure out, to debug, to troubleshoot. But typically the harder ones are the ones where the code compiles, it downloads, and then you get an unexpected result. Okay, the code downloads and you get an unexpected result. Well, let's talk about some of the things that it could be. Let's say you're building a project, like I've got one here with an LED. I guess I better get out of your way here. I've got the old SparkFun board here, and you can see I've got an LED with a current limiting resistor. And let's say that you go and you try to light up the LED. Tell me and it doesn't work. Okay, the code compiles, it downloads, but it doesn't work. What are some things that it could be? Okay, you guys tell me, what are some things it could be if your LED doesn't come on? Yeah, I don't like the little orange errors because particularly on Arduino, the error messages are not very descriptive, and so it's kind of hard. You see if it turns orange that something isn't working, but it's kind of hard to discern from that error what's really going on. Okay, let's see. What are people saying? The LED is broken. That's one. The LED could be burned out, and yes, LEDs do burn out. You could have on the wrong pin. Yeah, you could be on the wrong pin. I'm thinking of, okay, let's see, big resistance. Yeah, your resistor could be too big. The LED could be broken. Forgetting capital letters, wrong connections. Yeah, you guys, but you see, it could be any of that. But what you got to do is you got to not panic, and you got to get to the bottom of it. Okay, wiring could be wrong, breadboard could be faulty. Yeah, all those things are good. So I would kind of summarize what you're saying is, first of all, there's kind of like two big categories. It could be a hardware problem, or it could be a software problem. Okay, and you've got to sort of break it apart between, in a methodical way, do you have a hardware problem or do you have a software problem? If it's a software problem, then you've just got to find it and fix it. If it's a hardware problem, then it could be that you've hooked it up wrong. It could be that one of your components is bad. It could be that you have an interconnect problem. Okay, and 9 times out of 10 it's going to be one of those things, and you've just got to methodically go through it. No ground, yeah. Or so somebody suggested that you're not grounded. Another thing that I often see is you've got kind of like this circuit going over here and this going over here, and you're not having a common ground. That when you have more than one thing going on, you've got to make sure that you have a common ground, that you're tying your grounds together, and that can be kind of a tricky thing to find. Check the LEDs with the battery cell. Yeah, so kind of independently verifying that your LED is working would be sort of a good thing to do. Okay, well, that's just talking broadly that first of all you have to have the mindset of just, if it's not working, you've done something wrong. Okay, if you don't have that mindset, you'll never figure it out, because again, it's like you want to blame me, like I did it exactly right and it's not working, it's your fault. Ain't my fault, mine worked. Okay, it's your fault because you're not debugging, you're not troubleshooting. So what we're going to do is we're going to learn a little troubleshooting today. Okay, so you can see that I have this little bit of code over here, and what I am doing is I am defining a variable called color. Color is a string. Then I am setting up my serial port. I'm setting up my serial, starting my serial monitor. And then I come down here and I print out to the user, what color do you want? And then I wait. I do a while serial dot available equals 0. It just sits there and waits until it gets a response, and then it reads in color. Okay, and then I have an if statement. If color is equal to red, then I print you chose red. If color is equal to blue, then I say you chose blue. And if the color is not equal to blue and color is not equal to red, then say I don't know your color, I don't recognize it. Now this doesn't have anything to do with this circuit at this point. I'm just trying to kind of show you some code that might have an error in it, and I'm going to ask you to help me find the error. See if you guys can troubleshoot it on the fly, okay, in the chat room. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to see if I can download this. So I come over here and I hit this. It looks good. It looks like it's compiling. Boom! The happy little blue bar. No problems at all. So let's pop open the serial monitor and let's see what happens. All right. It says, what color do you want? And I type red. It says, I don't know your color. What color do you want? Blue. I don't know your color. Okay. What is wrong? Okay. What is wrong with this? Let's come back over here. Somebody tell me what's wrong. All right. I say if color equal uppercase red, if color equal uppercase red, it should print you chose red. Okay. So let's come over here. Watch. I'm going to type it. I got to type it exactly like it is there. So uppercase R-E-D. It doesn't recognize it. Okay, you're saying, do I have the caps lock? Oh man, that is a great suggestion, but watch me type it. Okay, can you guys see that? That is uppercase R-E-D. So that is, it's not a caps lock problem, okay? And so I'm going to hit enter, and it says, what color do you want? I don't recognize your color. Okay. Now, you guys are really good on this. Yeah, do I have my case right? But look, it's uppercase R, little e, little d, and that is what I'm typing. Uppercase R, little e, little d. Okay. It looks like, show us the setup function. Okay, you want to see the setup, the void setup. Okay, so I've got serial.begin 9600. So that looks good. Kindly use if else. Man, I've made it this far in life without using elses, and elses are not needed here. I'll tell you, a lot of times people tell me to use elses, but in real world applications, I cannot tell you how many disasters came from using else statements. I will always use however many if statements, because an else is like a double negative, like if x is not equal to 7 something and then else something else, and that's like else it not equal to, it just, the logic gets too confusing. Okay. Use equal. No, you don't use equal. Do I have the same baud rate? Yeah, looks like I have the same baud rate, 9600, that looks good. Okay, actually, I think Clint Swanee, okay, you don't have the color you typed in anywhere. Well, I don't need to, because I have this variable color, and then I'm putting the color into that variable color, and so then I'm comparing what I entered to this. Okay, man, I can't believe that I got you guys so the space between the parentheses and the red. No, man, you guys. Yeah, okay. Rakesh, Prakesh, I'm sorry, I can't say it better, and actually Clint Swanta, and I'm sorry, this font is small, so I can't see your names real well, but you guys kind of got it, okay? This is what it was, all right? If you come over here, and this is like the #1 error that I see people getting when they ask me questions, all right? When I am typing in red like that, look down here, and you can see that my serial monitor is set to new line. Okay, what does that do? I type in red, it reads in RED, and then it reads in a /n for new line. Now when it prints out red, that's an invisible character, that /n, so it doesn't print it out, so it is there. And so the reason it never gets into that if statement is because it says if color is equal to red, but we secretly put another character there, which was /n, and you don't see that. I don't know if this will work, but let's just try that just to see if I could add it on there just for the sake of illustration. And now it says, what color do you want? And I say red, and it says you chose red, and then it says I don't know your color. Okay, so it's still messed up, but what this is showing you is that there is a hidden /n there. Why? Because my serial monitor is set to new line. Now if you set the serial monitor to carriage return, it is going to put a /r, If you set yours to both NL and CR, it's going to put a /R and a /N there. You don't see it, but it's there, and it goofs up your if statements. This is the number one programming error that I see in Arduino. Now, there are commands that you can do to go in and strip off these hidden characters, okay? But the easy thing is to come up and put no line ending. That means if I type in RED, read RED. Don't tack on invisible characters after the end of that, okay? All right, so did you guys get that? Okay, so let's see now. What we're going to do is we're going to set this to no line ending, and now I'm going to come in and I am going to say red, and it says, let's see, let me try that again, RED. I need to download this again. I'm sorry, I changed it. I need to download it. Okay. Let's try it now. What color do you want? I'm going to say red. You chose red. What color do you want? Blue. You chose blue. What color do you want? Orange. And it says, I don't know that color. Boom. Okay. Guys, does this make sense? Now, this is kind of the problem. Used to, if you just downloaded the Arduino IDE, it seemed like that it would come up and default to no line ending. And so I never in my instructions made a big deal about having your serial monitor set to no line ending. Okay, I didn't make a big deal about having it set to no line ending because it should be there. But then later it seemed like newer versions of the Arduino IDE, you would download it and it would have a default value of new line. Okay, and when it had a default value of new line, the way that I did the lesson wouldn't work for you, and you would get this unpredictable behavior. So if you're getting unpredictable behaviors when you're reading strings or reading numbers from the Arduino, and if you're getting unpredictable behaviors with if statements, then you might have some of these invisible characters on the end of the string that you're reading in. And this one can make you bang your head against the wall. It can make you fold up like a cheap lawn chair. It can make you run from the room crying like a little child. Okay. All right, so let's see. Okay, Cap Electronics caught you off guard, didn't I? Yeah, I did catch you off guard. It looked like, though, a couple of you guys did see it, even though you didn't tell me the solution of make it no line ending. You did know that what the problem was invisible characters at the end of the string that I was reading in. So I will ring the bell. It seems like that we had two people that kind of zeroed in on that as the problem. Okay, so I got it set back to no line ending. That is number one. Okay, that is number one. So it says, okay, so a couple of you guys said that it happened to you already. So what if you already had this happen to you, why didn't you recognize it when I deliberately made that mistake? Okay, you should have kind of recognized experiences recognizing a mistake when you make it again. Okay, so that was error number one. Now let's go to error number two. All right, in this case, I'm going to come in, I'm going to define string as color. I'm going to set up my serial monitor. I'm going to turn it on. And then this time, I'm just going to have two colors. I'm going to say, while serial, I'm going to prompt the user for what color do they want. Then I'm going to wait by saying while serial.available equals 0. So until they put something in, I'm just going to sit and I'm going to wait. And then I'm going to say, read what they input into the variable color, and then I'm going to say if color is red, then I'm going to say you chose red, and if color is blue, then I'm going to say you chose blue. And so now let's download this. Okay. Oh, Dan Blankenship, you see invisible characters. Okay, that's pretty funny. What was that movie, Sixth Sense? Was kind of like, I think you're making a little joke about that. Okay. Boom, it looks like it downloaded. Let's open up our serial monitor here. Okay, we've got it on no line ending, so that should be good. And so now I'm going to say red. You chose red. You chose blue. What color do you want? Well, let's try blue. You chose red. You chose blue. What color do you want? Blue. You chose red. You chose blue. What color do you want? Okay. So let's look through the code. I'm not seeing any suggestions here. I set the variable up correctly. I set the serial.begin up correctly. What's wrong? Okay. Johan, I think, got it right off the bat. Okay. No, it's not a... Hey, Opal. Welcome. Good to see you. If you have cap lock on, you will type red. Yeah, some people have suggested that, but that wasn't it. So watch me carefully here, Opal. Watch me carefully. Where did my serial monitor go? There it is. Okay. So watch, it's uppercase R-E-D, and you can see that there that I am getting the case right, but it's saying you chose red, you chose blue. Okay, yeah, all right. So let's see, it was the equal sign. I'm not sure who was it. I saw someone earlier that said it was the equal sign that was the problem. And yeah, it was Johan that said it was the equal sign. Then it was Electronthu double equal. Einer double equal. Okay, so a couple of you guys saw it pretty quickly, and those of you who saw this one pretty quickly, how many of you had made this error before? Let me tell you, when I am working with helping people debug things, this is like one of the most common errors, and it is one of the hardest to find because it looks so right? It looks so right. But if I say if color equal red, when it gets to this part, it sees an equal sign and it puts red into color. So this becomes more of an executable thing. So it makes color red, and then it jumps into this. And then when it gets here, it makes color blue, and then it does this. And so this is a really, really, really difficult one to find. And this is another one that will make you fold up like a cheap lawn chair, because if you hadn't coded in a while, it's very intuitive to just say, okay, if color equal red, that makes sense. But you forget that when it is a conditional, you have to use the double equal. And this is not just in the, it's not just equal is my nemesis. Dan, you're on a roll today. You're a funny guy, okay? So you can see that you need the double equals there for this to work. So I am going to download this. Okay, and boom, it looks happy now. We are going to hopefully be able to find our serial monitor. Nope, I'm going to have to open it again. Okay, so now let's say I'm going to type in red, and it says you chose red. What color do you want? Blue. And it says you chose blue. And this one doesn't have the conditional for one that it doesn't understand, but it should just do nothing if I say orange. And it does nothing. It asks me for the next one. Boom. Okay, so those are two of the biggest errors that I run into when I'm helping people debug code, that you don't have your serial monitor set to no line ending, or you're doing conditionals with an equal sign. Okay, you're doing conditionals with an equal instead of an equal. Okay, I'm sure some of you guys have made these mistakes along the way. All right, so let's go to error number 3. Okay, let's go to error number 3. Now on this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask for a color, and then it's going to say if color equal red, then I'm going to say you chose red, and then if it's equal blue, I'm going to say you chose blue. So let's download this one. Okay. Okay, Rob, is that really right that you know who invented the equal sign? That is what you would call one of those little pieces of trivia that most people don't know. Okay, let's see now. All right, that downloaded, and so now let's pop open the serial monitor. The serial monitor is hiding these days behind these things. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, let's see. I'm just getting a question mark. So let me go ahead and type in red and hit enter. And I'm getting a question mark. Okay. What's wrong? I've got no line ending. I've got 9600 baud. I've got 9600 baud. Somebody tell me what's wrong. Okay. Hey, Rakesh, okay, and Robert, and Chris. Okay, a bunch of you guys saw that. Okay, hey, you're pretty good. I tried to fool you on this one, but I didn't get you right. I put it at 96,000. But why did I do this? Because 96,000 looks like 9,600, so I'll take that extra zero out, and I will do it. Man, you guys are getting sharp now. You kind of scared me because I got so many people with the no line ending or the new line on that. Okay, I got so many people on that one. I was thinking that you guys might be a little bit dull today, or I was thinking maybe you guys aren't really learning to code. Maybe you're just copying what I'm doing. But it makes me happy you guys are kind of picking your game up now. Okay, so let's try it now. What color do you want? Red. Okay. You chose red. Blue, you chose blue. Okay, that is great. Okay, man. All right, I was just thinking, I just thought of a new one that I would do, but I'm not going to do that yet. I do have another one in my mind that I'll just kind of have to do on the fly in a minute. Okay, all right, so you guys got that one. That was number 3. Okay, so let's go now to number 4. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm initializing L as an integer. That is my counter. I am starting the baud rate at 9600. Okay, and then I'm saying for L equal 1 to L is less than or equal to 10, L is equal to L plus 1, so standard for loop, and then I'm printing L, and so this should count to 10, and then it should print a blank line, and then it should count to 10 again. So let's check and see what's going on here. Okay. Boom, looks like it downloaded, right? Let me do that again, make sure I got it. It downloaded, so let me pop open my serial monitor. 1, 2, 2, 2, what? 2, 2, 2. What is going on? It's just printing 1, 2, 2, 2, 2. Man, NoobTube, you were not quite right. You were close, though. Okay. Enver, 1 or L. It's a 1, not an L. Okay, Yogesh and Enver, you guys were kind of seeing it at about the same time. Okay, but man, this is so common. Now, why did I use an L? Because an L looks like a 1. Okay, so do you see how I have L is equal to 1 plus 1, and so that is always 2. And so therefore L is equal to L plus 1, and if I do that, I'm going to hopefully get this thing to work. Okay, let's pop it open. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it counts again. Okay, we have this thing working now. All right, guys, this is the reason I made this error is I see this a lot, and you can also make the same mistake if you did an I, because an I can look a lot like a 1 as well. And so if you had that, it doesn't jump out at you as an error. And so kind of like what I would say is don't use L as a variable because it looks like a 1 or even an I, and don't use things that look like other things. And so I might even use something that is more than just a 1-letter variable on these counters, or at least use a counter that doesn't look like a number, because I think if you do that with an I or an L, you are just asking for trouble. Okay, I++. Yeah, Johan, I know that you can say I++, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make it as understandable as possible. And if I say I is equal to I plus 1, then that kind of ties back to the math that people know. And so that is kind of the reason that I do it that way. Okay, so that was error number 4. Okay, that was error number 5. Number 4. All right, let's go to error number 5. So what I am doing is I am now going to see if I can turn this LED on here. And so I've got it hooked up to pin 13. I'm going through a current limiting resistor. I'm going through an LED, and then I'm going back to ground. I've got that all hooked up right. I turned my serial monitor on just in case, and now I want to make the LED blink. So I'm going to go digital right, yellow LED high. I'm going to delay 500, and then I'm going to do a digital right yellow LED low. So now let's see if this will compile. And so it is going across there. Happy little green bar. Boom! It compiled. But what? The LED is not on. Okay, Robert already saw one problem, and Rakesh saw it. Okay, a bunch of you guys saw it. Yeah, but why do I do this? Because you turn it on, you delay, you turn it off, and you forget to delay, and then it just stays on. So yeah, you're really right. That needs a delay here. You guys caught that one right off. Okay, so now let's download it again. Okay, everyone saw that, but it is not working. Look at that. It is off. What is wrong? Somebody tell me. Okay, I see Aner, I see Jeffrin, I see Inver, I see a bunch of you that I don't have a pin mode. Okay, no pin mode. Okay, pin mode, and I need to do yellow LED. Okay, and then that's going to be an output, right? Got to put your pin modes in there. Okay, here we go. We're going to download that. Okay, it downloaded and nothing happening with the LED. Denied. So what do? You write me an email and say, I did exactly what you did and mine isn't working. Or you say, this doesn't work. No. Okay. I'm looking for some suggestions. It's not coming on. Class, anyone? Anyone? Come on, man. Nobody's giving me any suggestions. Are you guys just going to fold up out there? The code looks good. It's not coming on. Okay, let's see. Wrong pin connections. Okay, somebody said wrong pin connections. Let me see. I'm coming from 13. I'm going to the resistor goes to the LED, and then the LED goes back to ground. So thank you for suggesting that, but yes, I do have the right pin. Connect your pin 13 LED. Oh man, Glenn said, okay, Glenn just said something really smart. He said, take my pin 13 and hook it to 5 volts. And if I hook my pin 13, my wire, to 5 volts like that, the LED doesn't come on. Now what Glenn was thinking is, he wants to separate a hardware problem from a software problem. Okay, and what did he do? He just bypassed my program by directly hooking 5 volts to the resistor, and it still doesn't come on. Okay. Oh, what do I do? All right, Akira is saying maybe the LED is in backwards. Okay, I was hoping somebody would tell me to replace the LED because I had a spare LED here in case someone suggested that. But remember, the LED, the direction, can you see that? The direction on the LED does matter, and the long leg of the LED has to go back towards the positive voltage. Okay, and so now I'm going to put it in like that, and it kind of turned on. Okay, it kind of turned on. Let me see if I can kill these lights here. Okay, it kind of turned on, but it's really dim. You guys maybe cannot see it. Okay, so let's see. Ohio Tech Teen says I'm using a wrong resistor. Okay, if the resistor is too big, it's limiting too much current, and if the resistor is too small, then it is going to kind of be burning out the, let me turn my lights back on there. There, okay. It's going to be burning out my, LED. So in fact, who was that? Yeah, Ohio Tech Teen. You're right. What I did was I put in, I got like a 2,200 ohm resistor instead of a 220 ohm resistor, and so I'm going to pull that resistor out, and then I'm going to hook it back in like that. Ah, look at that! Boom! A nice bright LED. Okay, what's the problem now? It's not blinking. Somebody tell me why it's not blinking. Move the 5 volts back to pin 13. You're exactly right. Okay, but Glenn, when Glenn told me to move it to 5 volts, that was brilliant. Okay, because that separates the hardware from the software. All right, so now I'm going to take it. Now that I've got the circuit part working, we're going to go back to pin 13 like that, and then boom, now it is working. Okay, so actually, let me show you something else. All right, I want to show you something else. Let's say that we did this wrong, and you guys figured things out in a different order than I was expecting. But what if I did my pin mode wrong? I want you to see something. If I do my pin mode as an input, okay, I don't know if you can see it. Or now let me turn the lights off. So I don't know if you can see it, but if you don't do a pin mode, okay, if you don't do your pin mode, or if you do your pin mode wrong, your LED will come on really, really, really dim. And so as I'm working with students on these LED problems, kind of like two of the biggest reasons the LED is dim is either your resistor is too small. Okay, either your resistor is too small, or you didn't do your pin mode, or you did your pin mode wrong. So now let's fix the pin mode back to an output like it should be, and then let's download this. Okay, that looks good. Now it's blinking nice and bright like it should. And I'm sorry, I know that it's kind of hard to show the LED very well because the LED kind of saturates the camera. The camera has trouble really picking the LED up very well, but that is really working. Okay, so we have gone through 5 of the really common errors that we might see. Okay, so let's say that we wanted to change a number that's from 0 to 1023, okay, and we want to change that like the output of the when you do a digital when you do an analog read, you're gonna no, what am I trying to say? When you do an analog write, you write a number between 0 and 255, okay? But if you want to know what that is in real voltage, that's a number between 0 and 5 volts will be represented in Arduino as a number between 0 and 255, okay? So if you want to convert 0 to 255 into a real number from 0 to 5, you would need to write a little program to do that. And so I'm going to ask you to input a number between 0 and 255, and then we're going to convert that to a number from 0 to 5. I'm kind of doing this, I should have done this before, but let's see, let's come up and let's say open recent, let's go back to bare minimum, and then what I'm going to just do is your let's make a variable int is write val, okay. Let's make it a, I'll make two. I'll make a pot val is what, let's say, that you read, and then int the write val, and I'll make that a float. Okay. And I'm trying to think of what I want to go between two numbers. Let's say, I know what, the pot val is a value between 0 and 1023. Okay. And then you want to change that to something you would write to the LED. You would want to change that to 0 to 255. And so I'm going to go to pin 11, okay, because that's a squiggly. And so I would write val, I would read pot val, okay, and then I'm going to come over here and do a serial.begin, and then I'm going to do 9600 like that, okay. And then I don't have a potentiometer here to hook in, and so I'm just going to read it from the user. So I'm going to say serial.println, and I'm going to say input a number from 0 to 1023, because if we had a pot, that's what it would be reading, right? That's what it would be reading. Okay, so then I'm going to wait. I've asked, now I'm going to wait while serial.available equals 0. So I'm going to wait for an answer, and during that wait I am not going to do anything, and then I am going to read the number. So I will say pot val, because I'm reading it from the user instead of from the potentiometer. Pot val is equal to serial.parseInt. Okay, and then what am I going to read? I am going to read, let's see, I think I just do it like that, right? Just serial.parseInt. Let me just make sure. Yeah, that looks like it read it. Okay, so now I have pot val. Now I want to create write val, right? And write val should be between 0 and 255. And I also need to set my pin to 11. So I'll do an int, and I'll say yellow LED is equal to 11. And then I need to come down here and I need to do a pin mode. So I will say pin mode, and then that will be yellow LED will be that will be an output, right? Because I'm writing to that. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the pot val is going to be the number that I read. So I'm going to read a number between 0 and 1023, just like I was reading off of a potentiometer. Okay, reading it just like it was off of a potentiometer. Well, now what do I need to do? I need to change that into a write val. Okay, and a write val is going to be between 0 and 255. So I need to take pot val and I need to divide it by 1023, because that is going to normalize it, and then I need to multiply it by 255. So if pot val is 1023, this will become 1 times 255. That will be full brightness, okay, on the LED. And let's say if pot val was 0, then it would be 0. And so this thing scales a number from 0 to 1023 into a number from 0 to 255. Now what do I need to do? I need to do an analog write, and I'm going to write to what pin? Yellow LED, okay. And I forgot my semicolon. Yellow LED, and then what am I going to write? I'm going to write write val. Okay. Does this make sense for you guys? Okay. All right. So now we're going to go like that, and so now it's going to ask me if I put 0, it should be off. 1023 full brightness. Like if I put 510, it should be about half brightness. So let's try that. Okay. So I'm going to come in here. All right. Okay, and so now let's open up the serial monitor, input a number from 0 to 1023. Okay, let's try 0. If I do 0, LED is off. That's good. So now let me put in 1020. Let me put in 555 for half strength. Okay. I put in 555 and the LED does not come on. Okay. The LED does not come on. Okay, I have somebody wanting me to put parentheses around it. Okay, parentheses are always a good thing. So let's come in and let's put in parentheses. Okay, and now let's try that. Got several people asking for parentheses. All right, it downloaded. Okay, let's try let's try the number 555. Put it in there. And the LED does not come on. The LED does not come on. Okay. Okay, somebody said go 1023 point. Like that. Let's try that. Okay, now let's see what's going to happen. Got to get my serial monitor up here. Okay, so let's put in 555. Boom. Okay. So guys, what was happening? What was happening? And let me show you what was happening. Okay, what was happening was if I take pot val, which is an int, and I divide it by 1023, 1023 is an int. So if I take an int and divide by an int, it is going to return an int. It is going to return an integer. And an integer is one of the round numbers. And so if I say 555 divided by 1023, that is about 0.5, which is not an integer. It's going to round it to what? To 0. Okay. Now you guys, a couple of you guys had seen this before. A couple of you guys had seen this before, so right away you recognized it. But if you hadn't seen it, what would have been good to do? Well, a good debugging thing would be, that doesn't look right. Again, is it a hardware or a software problem? Well, what am I trying to write? So I could do a serial dot println, and I'm going to print what? Right value. All right, like that. Okay. And so let's just see if we're trying to write the right number. Okay, so I'm going to come in here. And now I'm going to open my serial monitor, input a number from 0 to 1023. Well, I'm going to put 555, and then I'm going to input that. Okay, and look, what is right val? Right val is 0. Okay, well, wait a minute. 555 divided by 1023 is not 0. Not if you're doing floating point math, but if you're doing integer math, 555 divided by 1023 is 0. Okay, so you have to force it to do floating point math, and you do that by putting a decimal there. Now, whoever suggested this, yeah, you were right, that fixed it, but man, I would just be safe and I would force it by putting decimal points there and there. Okay, so we are going to call up our serial monitor. Okay, so I'm going to input 555. And look, this time it is writing 138.34 and the LED is on half strength. And so that is just really, really good. Can you just make the pot val a float? Okay, well, let's see that. Let's see what happens then. Okay, so somebody was saying don't do that, but just make pot val a float. Let's see if that will work. Okay, so we'll call this up and we will put in 555 and say send. Okay, so making that seems like that worked as well. Let's see if I can put a smaller number in. Let's see if it'll work. Let's just really make sure if that was working. Yeah. Okay, let's say if I put in 4. That's barely on. Let's see if I put in 100. Yeah. Okay, so it seems like another way to fix that was to make the to make the right vowel or to make the pot vowel a float by having this is a float divided by an integer apparently came back as an integer, but as a float. So we kind of learn that by trial and error. But what I always do, just to be safe, man, I always just do it like that and like that. If I am kind of going to get something back that needs to be a floating point number, I make sure that I'm forcing it to be floating point by using a decimal here. Okay. Somebody's asking, can we convert? Can we type convert? I'm sure there's a way to do it in Arduino. It's just not something that I've done, and so it's not something that I can really make a suggestion about. Okay. So, man, I can't tell you how many times I think I should have thought about this to begin with, because this is one of the biggest problems that I see students have when they're programming, is ending up with an int math rounding to 0 or rounding to a round number and then getting an unexpected result. Okay. All right, so those are kind of like some of the most common problems that I find. So to summarize, though, really there's sort of two things that you got to do. Like first of all, you got to know I have made a mistake. It is my problem. You got to own it. Don't email me. You got to own the problem, because I know how to debug. One of the things you need to do is learn how to debug. First of all, is the code compiling? If the code is not compiling, then there is just a good old-fashioned code error. And one of the most common ones. Do I have another one here? Maybe I have one more. Let's see if I have one more. I don't think I've done this one. Okay, so let's look at this. All right, try to download it. Boom, I've got an error. Okay, expected comma, okay, before void. Have you guys seen this one before? What is this one? This is like one of the biggest just code ones that I see. Okay, line 1, yeah. What's wrong with line 1? I like line 1, Ohio. Why don't you like line 1? Yeah, okay, no semicolon, right? And this is kind of like, hopefully you guys have seen this enough to recognize it, but sometimes it says like expecting a token, or something about a token sometimes. But usually the first thing you need to look at when you get an error is, have you forgotten your semicolon? And that's like one of the most common one of the most common errors is to not have your semicolon in there. Okay, so step 1, you got to get the code to compile. You just got to get the code to compile. And sometimes, I'll give you a hint too, sometimes if it's compiling but then it's not downloading to the board, well, the obvious thing is you come over here and you make sure that you're on the right COM port. If you're on the right COM port and it compiles but it won't download, a lot of times what you do is you have a short in your circuit, and when you are shorting out your circuit, that is kind of drawing current through your circuit, and it kind of locks up the USB and the code won't download. And so if your code is compiling but not downloading, what you need to do is you need to remove the circuit and just see if you can download it. You can download it directly to the Arduino without the circuit connected. Okay, now if that fixes it, that means when you did your circuit, somehow in your circuit you're shorting out the Arduino. Okay, so that's another real common one that you can have. But then once that's working, what you've got to see is if it's not compiling, you have an error in your code, and you just have to look through it line by line, and sometimes it can look so right, but if it's not compiling, you have an error and you've got to find it. And sometimes it can be subtle, like when I had the L and the 1, I had a 1 for an L or an L for a 1. You've got to find your error. Okay, now once it compiles, if it compiles and it's not doing what you want, the circuit not doing what you want, then what you got to do is you got to figure out, is it a hardware problem or is it a software problem? And what Glenn had sort of like very keenly suggested was unplugging from pin 13 and plugging directly into 5 volts. And that way it was sort of like a real insightful thing of that way you can see, you know, if the LED comes on, at least I see I got my circuit right, and therefore it must be some sort of coding problem. So once you get it to compile, now you've got to figure out, is it a coding problem or is it a hardware problem? Then once you decide that, then you've got to go through things methodically, one line at a time. If it actually turns out to be your circuit, you can see maybe you don't have your circuit put together correctly. Okay, maybe you have a bad component, or as we saw the LED, maybe the LED is in backwards. And what you can do is you can have a loose connection, because I think somebody had mentioned this earlier. Sometimes these breadboards don't have real good connections, and so particularly if you got a project with a lot of wires. Hey man, we just got from Johann Sebastian, we got a super chat. Hey, wow, really thank you, thanks a lot, appreciate that. Okay, your next cup of Colombian coffee is on me. Okay, man, I will one day be somewhere. I'm kind of cheap and I only drink coffee at home. I will be somewhere and I will think, okay, I'm going to have a cup of coffee on Johann. So hey, really appreciate that. So what you got to do is it hardware or is it software? And then if it's hardware, you've just got to go through things methodically. If you have a circuit that has a lot of wires, sometimes it can just be a loose connection. Okay, usually the most likely thing that you have is you haven't hooked it up right. If you have hooked it up right, then you might have a wrong component, and then if you verify that all your components are working, sometimes these wires actually do break, and replace your wire, see if you got a bad wire. Okay guys, I kind of had fun with this today. I hope you had that you had some fun with it too, and appreciate you guys tuning in. We're kind of coming up on the hour mark, and so I need to kind of wrap this up. I hope that this sort of helped you a little bit in learning a little bit more about troubleshooting, and I hope that as we went through these, that it sort of helped you kind of begin to build that skill. If you're interested in this, we could try to do another troubleshooting video one day where maybe I have like a little bit trickier, a little bit harder problem. If you're interested in that, maybe we could do that. Okay guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Again, I want to really thank you guys that are helping me out over on Patreon. Been tough all over, so I've really kind of lost some Patreons this month, but those of you who are sticking in, really appreciate it. And those of you that aren't, think about helping me out over there. It really is a big encouragement. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and subscribe. When you subscribe, make sure you ring that bell so that you will get notifications when a new video comes out. Okay guys, this is Paul McWhorter from TopTechBoy.com. I will talk to you guys later.